Hello, welcome to Golden Rule Central's next video. My name is David, and what is Golden Rule Central? Well, it's about the Golden Rule and making it central in importance in our lives. And I kind of want to start off on a tangent, I think, because, and please don't click away as soon as I say this, you might learn something. I'm Christian. I used to say, be very quick to say this, I'm Christian, but not mainstream. And I've since learned that the correct term is traditional Christians, not as opposed to mainstream. And I'm what's known as a progressive Christian. And, these are more kind of tendencies than hard and fast rules. But one of the differences between the two is, the human brain can only focus on one thing at a time. Traditional Christians, central to them is converting to accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And if you don't, you're doomed. You're damned for all of eternity. Progressive Christians tend to not look at it that way. And Jesus himself, I believe, did not want that to be our focus at all. He said himself, the Golden Rule, and what he said of it, too. And Jesus was a good practicing Jew. He revered and upheld the law and the prophets of the Old Testament. And what he said about both loving our neighbors and treating them the way we would want to be treated, he said the law and the prophets hang on these. How much more clear could he have been in saying this is where our focus should be? And I believe also this is consistent with Jesus' teachings, what I believe, and that's what you believe doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Whether you Hindu, Buddhist, Jew, Muslim, Taoist, doesn't matter. What matters is what your belief looks like. Oh, and by the way, I should say atheist as part of that too. It doesn't matter. What matters is what your beliefs look like when you put them into practice, your personal philosophies. And it's the Golden Rule. And so that's the perspective I come from, and I say that right up front because I'm hoping that regardless of what you believe or don't believe, here it doesn't matter. What matters is that you value kindness, and want to develop that and nurture it in yourself and maybe even in others. As I said, that's not what I want to talk about. Want to talk about minimalism, and you might be wondering, what's with the Joshua trees? Well, this is my backyard right now, because I live what's known as the nomadic lifestyle, and have for 6 years now. It flies by, but I travel and camp mostly on public lands, which is what this is. And it's been just wonderful. It's been a blast. Along those lines, I want to talk about minimalism. And on the surface, you might say, well, what does minimalism have to do with the Golden Rule? And on the surface, nothing directly, but an awful lot indirectly. And that's because it becomes most clear when you compare it to its opposite, materialism. And I don't think it would come as a shock to anybody here to hear me say that, we live in a very materialistic society. It's how we're raised. Nobody's so crass as to put it this way, or very few anymore. But the idea is that money buys happiness. And, it's a lie. It's a path to nowhere. The only thing that buys happiness, and wiser people than me, including Jesus, of course, have said this, and that's the key to happiness is the Golden Rule. It's how our brains are wired, and it's only by pursuing the Golden Rule that one finds true happiness in life. And so I want to break down, I think, minimalism a little bit into two ways. There's like the minimalist lifestyle and the minimalist attitude too, I guess you could say. And from the perspective of harm to the environment, there's no two ways about it. Being a minimalist leaves a smaller footprint. and we're increasingly, just eating up the Earth's resources and polluting the Earth faster than it can replenish itself. And minimalist lifestyle has less impact. But at least for purposes of this discussion, I want to focus more on the attitude, because I don't think on an individual level, how much stuff you own is as important as the attitude you have towards it. And maybe the best way to explain this is my own journey into minimalism, or maybe more specifically, my accepting the title of minimalism. And that's early on. I have now adult sons, and I've been widowed for 9 years as well. But when my boys, who are very fraternal twins, were infants, I was fortunate to get some of the best advice I ever heard, which is spend most of your money doing stuff, not having stuff. And because of that, the stuff that I was most proud of that we had was our refrigerator door. Because I grew up traveling and camping, and Wendy and I raised our kids the same way, and traveling and camping. And so our refrigerator door had magnets on it from the 37 states that we had road tripped to and through while the boys were growing up. Yeah, so I think that's more the minimalist attitude. And when I look back, I was a homeowner up until 6 years ago, and we had a nice big old farmhouse in the country, but it was, simple, country charm, I guess you'd say. But anyway, so yeah, I did kind of back into accepting minimalism as a title for myself, because I really thought that to be a true minimalist, it required like a sort of almost ascetic self-denial. Like, to be a minimalist, I would have to trade in my recliner for a backless wooden bench. And I'm a comfort monger. So, that didn't sound real appealing and attractive to me. But then one day I started saying, am I a minimalist? And I started doing a little bit of reading and research on it. And I won't claim to be an expert by any stretch. But that's one of the things that I saw. And a fairly typical story from minimalists are they were in the workforce, and they were determined to climb that corporate ladder, if you will. They came to eventually realize that the ladder was leaning against the wrong building. But each rung on that ladder was supposed to bring them increased happiness, and the rung was, a certain level of income, certain level of stuff, maybe, that was supposed to make them happy, and like a major rung might be that car you've been dreaming of, that status mobile, that look at me mobile that will impress people and cause them to respect you and everything. And, people who were gunning for that, they got that car and they were happy for about 10 minutes. And then the same hollow feeling returned. And the ones that became minimalists, fortunately for them, realized that path is to nowhere. And, I don't know if you've known any lifelong materialists, but the big fish in the small pond, I've known a few of those, and they were miserable people, and really not well liked, at least the ones that I knew. But most importantly, they were miserable because their success ladder was against the wrong building. A quote that I like about that from a writer named Ken Blanchard was, nice guys only appear to finish last. They're actually running a different race. So I think that, fits in well with the golden rule. And I think one of the things that can most graphically expose the absurdity of materialism as a key to happiness is examining what that comes from and what the motivation is. And that's specifically, it's about a concern over status. And, I heard it said, what good is status? You can't eat it. But to me, the most graphic and funny illustration of how absurd it is that, if you're concerned with status, what are you concerned with? Well, you're concerned with what other people think about you. And that's true in the workplace or at home. A status obsessed person, wants to have the opulence of a beautiful home, and the nice cars and all the status symbols that go with it. And what motivates them is they want their neighbors to admire and respect them, and they're concerned with what their neighbors think about them. Concerned about Bob, your next door neighbor, and what he thinks about you. The problem is Bob's kind of obsessed with status too, and so he really is more concerned about what you think about him. So Bob's not really thinking about you, because he's concerned about what you think about him, and you're not really thinking about him because you're concerned about what he might think about you, and he's not thinking about you because he's concerned about what you might think about him, and so on, in a tragic comic circle. And like rats on a wheel, working their butts off and getting nowhere. And it is the rat race. And as Lily Tomlin put it, the trouble with the rat race is even if you win, you're still a rat. I think that's great. Sums it up pretty well. So as I said, I think the minimalist attitude is what's most important in that regard, at least. Is that stuff serves you and not the other way around, and your meaning in life. Well, let's face it, that we're conditioned in our materialist society with the idea that money buys happiness, and when we pursue happiness. Oh, I see Buddy. Hi, Buddy. My doggy coming up. But anyway, when you pursue happiness, it's selfish. It's desire to accumulate stuff, and it's purely focusing on oneself and one's accumulating of stuff, and that does not bring happiness. It brings misery. And as I said, fortunately, minimalists learned that or whatever. But lastly, I think I want to talk a little bit about this forum, because I really don't know, where it's going to go. In learning about how to do this, YouTubers frequently have videos stacked up, ready to be released, and this is the last video I'm making before launching, and so I've never done anything like this before, so I have no idea if it's going to reach any kind of an audience. I'm really hoping it does, though, part of that is I'm hoping to learn from other people. When I say, here's what I think, what do you think? To me too, what do you think is more important, because I'm hoping to learn here. And there are some people for whom kindness and the golden rule is right out of the chute. It's in them. And if you're fortunate, you've known maybe a few people like that. Their whole lives are characterized by kindness. That's not most people, and it's not me. I've had to work at it. I mean, in a lot of ways, I was a jerk when I was a teenager, because I had to learn about empathy through the course of my life, and I like to think that I'm a kinder person now, because I paid attention and learned through life. But along those lines too, I think that kind of sets me up in a way to be maybe a good moderator, if you will, if this does in fact become something of a forum. And the analogy I want to use is coaches in sports, especially high-level sports. The superstar athlete doesn't usually make the best coach. He's got so many gifts that comes to him naturally. Then when it comes to coaching, he kind of is more like, why can't you do that? I mean, I always could. Whereas the one that wasn't quite as gifted had to really work at it and had to really learn and discipline themselves to learn the ins and outs so that they could compete at such a high level. And they in turn then can help the other less gifted athletes, because they've been there themselves and know what they had to do for it. And I think you can probably see the analogy, right? Like I said, the golden rule and living by it has not come naturally to me my whole life. It's something I'm still working on. And that's why I'm hoping it's a forum, and hoping that I can learn from you, and maybe teach a few things along the way, but learn also. And that's regardless of what you believe. As long as you believe in kindness is the most important thing in life, and hold that value. I can learn from you, and others can learn from you too. And so that's what I'm hoping, that we can kind of get together and teach each other, learn from each other, and help each other along the way, because isn't that what the golden rule is about? Is helping each other. So yeah, except for to say, give it a thumbs up. That's all I got for you. But if you think this is a worthwhile cause, and one you'd like to ascribe to, yeah, hit the thumbs up, because it does help increase our visibility, and so helps to further our common cause. So with that, till next time, happy trails.